Hey guys, it's Kimber and welcome back to my channel where I talk about life, work, and traveling here in Japan. If you're wondering about work in Japan, you've come to the right place because today I'm going to talk about what you need to get a job in Japan, what kind of jobs there are for teaching here in Japan, and also how to search and secure a job in Japan. So let's get into it. So first, these are just the base requirements, like the musts, before you can even think about applying to really any job in Japan, not just teaching. Number one, you need to have a bachelor's degree. That's going to be a 4-year degree at an acclaimed university or college. Another requirement is to speak English either natively or at a native level. Then Japan is very big on safety and health. So if you're wanting to come to Japan, you're going to need 3 things: a clean criminal record, a pretty good healthy lifestyle, and the ability to pass a drug test. So you'll take a criminal background check, you'll take a drug test, and you'll take a health checkup. And then lastly, this one is the easiest, and hopefully if you're at this page and you're looking for a teaching job in Japan, you have this, but it's just simply to have an interest in Japan and in English. Because if you come to Japan and you don't like Japan, and you come to teach a job that teaches English, you're going to be miserable. So please don't make that mistake. Really have a genuine interest in Japan before coming here. Okay, and then these next things are not a requirement, but they really do help you out in getting the job and also just in everyday life in Japan. So number one, if you have a teaching certificate, that's going to help you a lot to get a job here in Japan. Then having a basic level of Japanese is going to be very helpful in both the job position and in daily life. So if you have a little bit of basic Japanese, that's going to be very helpful for you. Okay, and that's basically everything that you need to start applying to jobs in Japan. So what kinds of jobs are there in Japan? There are basically 3 positions for teaching English here in Japan. Those are going to be your ALT, Assistant Language Teacher, or English teacher at a conversation school, or an English teacher at a private school. So I'm gonna look at my notes here. The ALT job, which is what I originally had when I came to Japan, that one, if you are outside of Japan, that one's going to be a little bit more difficult to get than if you were inside Japan already. But the ALT job, basically you work as an assistant language teacher in a public school around Japan. The well-known ones would be the JET program, Interact, etc., jobs like this. The position is basically any level from kindergarten to senior high school. You could be in my position and be at an integrated school and do anywhere from kindergarten to middle school. It really just depends on the school. The class sizes are going to be a bit larger. My schools, they were around 30 plus students per classroom. And then you are either going to assist a Japanese teacher of English or you're going to teach the lessons on your own. It really just depends on the school that you go to. And this is a regular work week job, Monday through Friday, and some Saturdays, depending on the holiday. Sometimes they have sports day or Bunka Festa, and you will have to come in for those holiday events. Okay, and then there are conversation schools. They are called Ikaiwa. I have never worked at an Ikaiwa before, but I have applied to Ikaiwa jobs. So this is the information that I found online about Ikaiwa or conversation schools in Japan. So Ikaiwa schools also have a large range. It can range from children all the way up to adults. So this is way more of a range than if you were working in an ALT position. And it's probably going to be a bit more professional since you're working with adults. The class size can also range from being very large to being very small. So that is a very big difference. Another thing to keep in mind about conversation schools is the pay varies depending on the hours that you work. You could most likely end up working on Saturdays. So this could be like a Tuesday to Saturday job or maybe even a Wednesday to Sunday job. Okay, and then there are the private school teaching positions in Japan. These ones I think are the most highly sought after jobs. But basically the pay will range depending on the job that you are doing and the amount of hours that you are working. Usually these schools have like some kind of like statement or motto or mission and you will basically be working with children. You'll be teaching the class, and you will teach English and then some other like form of like course time throughout the day. The size range of this can depend. It can be very large, but I think no more than 20, and very small, so like 1 or 2 kids could show up to your class that day. And then depending on the place you work, you could work Monday through Friday or Monday to Saturday. But I think that the biggest difference between this job and ALT job is that you are independently recruited. There is no like in between dispatch or anything like that. The company or school that wants you, they hire you on directly. So there's no like middlemen in this process. Okay, and so that is just very basically the jobs that you can get in Japan. And I just want to give a basic overview because this video is mostly about how to find a job in Japan, finding a job in Japan. So I'm going to show you some of the ways that I was able to search and apply for jobs in Japan. So I'm going to use my computer here, and I am going to share my screen so that you guys can see what I am seeing. So the first place I went to look for jobs in Japan was a website called Jobs in Japan, and I really liked the layout of this website. I thought it was super easy to understand and super easy to search for the kind of job that I wanted to search for. So what I really like about this website is it's very organized and clean and easy to understand. It has all of the basics that you need, and it helps you search easily for what you're looking for. So you can use keywords. I used ALT when I was searching for jobs. Job category, look at that right at the front: education, teaching, training. And even the job location. They have all of the places that you would like to look for a job. Here at the bottom, you can choose full-time, part-time, if they offer visa, which is super important. You know, why get a job in Japan if they're not going to sponsor you, basically? You wouldn't be able to stay here. You can even, if you have no level of Japanese whatsoever, you can do this tab here, no Nihongo, that means no Japanese. You can find a job that does not require any Japanese at all. And then overseas, okay. So the one thing with these search websites is they are for people looking for jobs overseas, but also people who are already in Japan looking for a job. So if you're overseas, it's going to be a little more difficult to get a job in Japan versus if you were already in Japan. So you can hit this tab here to see what kind of jobs will easily take over people from, you know, outside countries to work in Japan. So let's just do one real quick. Let's do job category, teaching. And then we will do in Tokyo, and we want full-time. So we're going to click full-time and see what options come up. And then clearly on the page, you can already see things being popped up. So some of them, it's really helpful. It's saying like, oh, okay, the start is in October, November. Full-time, you can clearly see that. You can see what company, what location, what category, what salary already right off the bat without clicking on anything. And if you want to save it for later, you can heart it. And I think this just allows for like really quick scrolling so that you can see what you would like just right off the bat. So we'll just click on this top one. And then here it gives you a little more further information. What kind of like employer, like I said, direct hire. This is probably a private school position. And Japanese level, not necessary. Visa sponsorship, yes. Then they have way more down here, the job requirements, job description right here so that you can see if this is a good fit for you. And some of them even have like pictures of where you're going to be working, which I think is really nice, and videos so you can kind of get like a feel of the atmosphere. So that's jobs in Japan. I found my job through Jobs in Japan, so of course I would recommend it. Super easy to use, super user-friendly. The second one I used is Gaijin Pot. And this one, I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as Jobs in Japan because for Jobs in Japan, as it clearly states in the URL address, it is just jobs in Japan. But for Gaijin Pot, it's a whole bunch of things: jobs, study, travel, apartments, events, classified, health, blog. So they got a lot going on. So I kind of like just having a website that specifies in one particular thing. But we're going to look for jobs on Gaijin Pot. So we're going to click this tab here. This one is also super helpful. You have your keywords, what role you can search for, what location you would like to search for. This one is interesting because you can also choose if you would like to search for non-teaching jobs, but all the regular tabs, full-time, part-time, teaching jobs, direct hire, remote work, no nihongo, overseas, okay. So let's do the same thing. So we're going to do a teaching role. Where are you? There you are. Education. And then we're going to do in Tokyo. And we're going to do full-time jobs and see what comes up. All right, so the same thing, just the layout is a little different, and one of the things I like in comparison to jobs in Japan versus Gaijin Pot is all of the toggle bars to change your preferences were on the left side, versus Gaijin Pot, if you scroll down, you have to scroll back up to change your preferences. So it's just that one thing, but it's very clear to understand. Here they have a position spring 2024 LT opportunities. They tell you the date it's posted, the company is for, the salary, the location, the requirements for language, and it's all just right there so that you can see it. So let's click on one. And then there you get further information. So the job requirements, the job description, and yeah, that's basically it. So those are the two that I really liked and I mainly use for searching for a job in Japan. If you're looking for a job in Japan, I would definitely recommend these websites. Go ahead and make an account for both of these, and then you can upload your resume and a cover letter, and you can keep using those to apply for these jobs, which will make it a lot easier than applying to each individually by like company. These websites have been like really helpful. If you didn't find these to be very helpful, I have heard by word of mouth, people have found jobs on Craigslist and Indeed.com, especially if you're looking for a non-teaching job. Those may also be decent ways to search for a job in Japan. But for me, living here in Japan and having teaching experience, using jobs in Japan and Gaijin Pot was really, really helpful. So yeah, that's basically it. I have a lot of people commenting on my channel, "You're living my dream. I want to come and work in Japan." I've had people message me on Instagram asking for help with getting a job here in Japan. And I just want to say, if that's your dream, make it happen. Get these basic requirements, do the research, apply for the jobs, and see what happens. Coming to Japan and working in Japan has changed my life and has been an amazing experience. And so I want to help you guys by putting this information out there. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you can get that job in Japan. Good luck, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!